So are the buyer's agent's commission gone completely? Well, we're going to discuss that today and try to make sure that you understand exactly what the new ruling entails and how it's going to affect the buyers and the agents. I'm Patty Villanueva with eXp Realty.
Susie Constanzo with eXp Realty.
So what's going to happen now with the new ruling is that as of now, the MLS shows a percentage of commission that the seller is willing to pay, whether it be 2, 3%, whatever that commission is listed in the MLS. Now the new ruling is not going to have that because the sellers will have an option whether they want to pay a buyer's commission or not. They will no longer have a commission amount in the MLS, but it does not mean that you cannot still come in the offer and make a request for the buyer to have the seller pay for his representation. But it is important to understand that now it's going to be a little bit closer, like if you go to court, that every person has their own real estate attorney. This now will really determine that as a buyer, you need your own representation, and then the seller will have their own representation. So it's important to have that. And even if we have one showing, you will not be able to even show one home unless you have an agreement signed by the buyer, because you want to make sure that they understand that the fee they may have to pay if we're not able to get it as a seller. But what do you think about the financing, Susie? Do you think it'll affect that?
Yeah, they're still looking with the underwriters how it's going to affect the loan, because buyers, they can only pay certain amount towards closing costs. So they're going to see how is that going to affect especially the FHA and VA buyers.
Yeah, exactly. And so because they do have a limit of how much the seller can pay, or they have a limit how much the buyer can pay in his own closing costs. But I think, especially with the eXp, we had a lot of training on this the last couple of days, and there is a way that you can write the contract so it won't affect the loans, hopefully. One of the things I think is going to be really good is I see that when I have listings, a lot of the buyers will come directly to me because they think they're going to get a better deal. But as I offer, if you don't like this house, I have another listing that I can show you, but they're going directly to the listing agent. So at least now the buyer's agents will be protected, because you're going to hire one agent and one agent only, and that'll be the person that represents you. Don't you think that'll be better?
Yeah, of course, because the buyers now, they have to sign a buyer's agreement with the agent that they want to work with. Before, some buyers, they were going on Zillow and just calling the Zillow agent just to open the door for them. Mm-hmm. So now that's not going to happen. If you want an agent to open the door for you, you have to sign an agreement with them, kind of like an employment agreement.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that's important that you guys need to focus on is for buyers, it's important to interview and hire the agent that you want them to represent you. Some of the qualities that I think that are important is that, okay, what if there's an area that I want to buy and there's no houses available? For instance, we're on the same team, and so we actually go out and go door to door and look for the homes that our clients want, and there's not one listed for sale in that area. So there is a lot of things that we do as buyer's agents to help the buyer find the proper home. And of course, you do want your own representation. So I really think it's going to help the buyer's agents, because a lot of them are showing a lot of property and then people are just hopping around.
Yeah, for the buyers, not much is going to change. They're just going to have to sign an agreement with a buyer's agent, and they can always change the agreement.
And I like it because, like I said, it'll discuss the commission on there. It's just like if you were going to go to an attorney and you were going to do a contract with them, just like when we're doing a listing, then we become an agreement with how much commission are you going to pay and all those terms. So now meeting with the buyers, so many buyers do not want to sign a buyer's agreement, but now they need to understand, as a buyer, you do need to understand you will have to sign a buyer's agreement, and people will not be able to show you a home. Even if you were to see only one home, we can sign a buyer's agreement only to show you that home and represent you only that deal. But ultimately what you really want is a buyer that's going to work, and no agent's buyer is going to work their butts off and do the maximum for you if you're going to be hopping around. And so I think that that's a really good rule that's going to affect it, don't you think?
Yeah, and this new law goes in effect in July 2024.
Exactly. So even though it's not right now, we're getting a lot of phone calls because people are confused exactly. People are texting me, does that mean the buyers are no longer going to get paid? Does that mean that sellers don't have to pay any commission? Again, we put in offers, all the time, and we say, okay, we want buyers, as a seller, to pay for the buyer's closing costs. So it's going to be kind of the same thing. We're just going to negotiate the commission in there for the buyer's agent, because like she said, the ones that are going to be impacted the most are the people that are coming in with a minimum down payment and then their closing cost.
So there's also sellers that understand that it's better to compensate the buyer's agent, and they're still gonna do it. It doesn't mean that the sellers are not gonna pay commission to a buyer's agent. It's just the wording is gonna be different, and it's not going to be reflected on the MLS.
Exactly, yeah. I spoke to a seller recently, and that's the thing I brought up. Now that this is going to be in effect pretty soon, how do you feel about it? And he was very, he's intelligent. Of course, he has a lot of background in real estate, but he said, ultimately, it's my net. If I want to net this much, I don't care if it's the agent that's getting it or the buyer's getting the closing costs. We talked recently about doing a buy down with him. And I said, as an incentive, we can pay for a buy down. And he said, I don't care who gets the money. I just want my net bottom. And according to the offer, if we're going to give that person the net that they're looking for, then I think that's the good part. But when looking at comparables, as you're listing, you sellers that are going to be listing your properties, don't think because, let's say the house next door to me sold for $1 million, I want to sell for $1 million, but I don't want to pay commission. That sales price was built in commissions, right?
You're right.
Yeah, so the fact that you're going to be able to get more because there's not a commission that's set now in stone, it doesn't matter. Buyers agents are really the main way how we get the list, buyers into escrow. And so getting rid of that 100%, I think, would really affect in a bad way with sellers.
Buyers agents are not going to disappear.
Exactly. Yeah. So no worry about that. There's going to be a lot of changes in the next couple of weeks. Our contracts are going to change a little bit, and so is everything else. So we'll make sure that we update you on what's going on and let you know. Thank you very much.